Welcome back to Sunday Vibes, one and all.
Hello.
Chris and Patrick joining me in the pub on a Thursday, this goes out on a Sunday, to answer your questions.
Every time.
The first comes from King Lou J. He says, which three young players that you've seen at the World Cup would you like to see in the Premier League and why? Hamster, who are you kicking us off with?
There's a couple of options here, isn't there? Herving Lozano being one, big fan of him.
Yeah, boring though.
Took Germany to the cleaners, but we've covered him pretty extensively on Euro Football Daily. We actually profiled him on a scout report, so go and check that out if you haven't already. I'm going to go with someone that surprised me in Alexander Golovin. Now, there was a little bit of hype around him before the tournament because he's been linked with Arsenal pretty incessantly, hasn't he? But I've not watched him closely at club level, and he has been very impressive at club level for CSKA. He's been a mainstay in that team for 2 seasons now, despite only just turning 22. He's already clocked up 113 appearances
So many, man.
on the domestic scene. A little bit like Timo Werner in that his game has matured quicker because he's getting an awful lot of time in the first team. He won the Russian Premier League, lads, in 15-16. That prestigious league. I remember I was having a debate with someone on Twitter and he was trying to tell me that the Russian Premier League is now classified as one of Europe's top 5.
Get out. No, it's absolutely not. It's about 8.
Absolutely.
Bollocks.
Deluded. Disgusting. But his form has really picked up for Russia in this tournament, and that form at club level is translating to form at international level, isn't it? He's got 1 goal, 2 assists so
Great
far
goal as well.
in 2 games. Obviously, they've battered both Egypt and Saudi Arabia. There's that moment against Egypt as well, that little back heel to the right wing, I want to say, who looks ancient but pretty industrious midfielder. And he just plays in a very sort of un-Russian type way, doesn't he?
Yeah.
They're sort of very organised, very compact, but he brings the flair to the team, great running power. I think he's an attacking midfielder, but he often sort of peels out wide, doesn't he? And I'm just a big fan of his. He's very aesthetically pleasing on the eye, like I said, and he has been incessantly linked with Arsenal. And that superb performance against Saudi Arabia, where he created 5 chances, put in 4 tackles, 3 interceptions. He got 2 assists and a goal. Will no doubt have raised his stock, let's say.
It's the Jack Wilshere replacement we all needed.
Prodigious young talent to guys doing it for his country. And would you welcome him through the gates? Would Unai Emery, welcome him at Arsenal?
Yeah, I think
Would he fit in with his playing style?
Yeah, well, I mean, he certainly looks like a Premier League ready player, doesn't he? But I don't know. In a way, it's always hard to tell how players are going to translate out of the Russian league. Like, the Russian league is very unpredictable. Like, we've seen guys like Seydou Doumbia and Ahmed Musa have incredible
Ahmed
output
Musa
there.
can't pass a ball 5 yards.
He's
Howling.
trash.
Howling.
But every now and then, then there's a guy like Umar Niasse, who I think is like a perfectly, reasonable level Premier League player. Like, I don't know, his goal scoring record's pretty decent. So, I don't know. I think that I would definitely take him, but I wouldn't necessarily get too hyped about
Not a
it.
starter,
if
is
that
it?
makes sense. I don't know, actually. Like, I
Because
think
George Wright has fully shot his bolt over the kid. He wants him at Arsenal.
That's
right
just because
now.
of his sock height.
And
George
it's because and it's because of how he looks when he plays. Like, I remember people being the same way about Andre Gomes because he looked extremely kind of like elegant running forward on the ball, and that is fun to watch, but not necessarily going to translate into elite output. I think he's very, very young. He's got good baseline numbers. Somebody's going to take a risk on him. There are reports out of Russia today that Arsenal are going to move ahead with an offer. So I don't know. I think that he'll probably end up in the Premier League at some point because these guys always do. Either that, or he'll go to like Sampdoria, be a banger, and we'll be talking about him again in 2 years' time for about 50 million.
Excellent. Joe, any youngsters tickled your pickle?
I think
Normally
there's,
do.
I think there's loads, but most of them are
Just football.
I think most of the youngsters that have started really well are already at really established clubs, either in the Premier League or across Europe in Germany, France, and Spain. So I'll go for one of the more established names, I suppose, because the question is about who you want to see come to the Premier League. He's not playing the Premier League. I'll go Jose Jimenez. For Uruguay, obviously started against Egypt, really strong. Not the best Uruguay team, I have to say. I think opening 2 games have been really quite disappointing. But
No, the game against Saudi Arabia was a disgrace. Let's have it right.
it was awful. But Jose Jimenez, I think, is only 23 years old, a consistent part of probably Europe's best defence and most well-drilled defence under Diego Simeone at Atletico Madrid. keeping out some pretty decent centre-backs in the likes of Stefan Savic, who's obviously been heavily linked with Chelsea, and he works alongside Diego Godin at current, Jimenez in there. So I'd quite like to see him in the Premier League. I think there's a lot of clubs that are after central defenders as well, and at 23 years old, I think he's got some mileage in him.
It's surprising that he's only 23. It feels like he's been around
for a long time. Yeah, exactly.
They're very young.
I think in that first game he made 13 tackles and interceptions. Who are you going to go for?
I don't know. I mean, a lot of young talent I feel like has not had a chance to get on the field. People have gone for broadly like quite experienced sides. So we haven't seen Lucas Torreira play. You know, we haven't seen like Odriozola play for Spain. We haven't seen Zivkovic. Elia Shkri has been playing for Tunisia. Hasn't really been a great team for him to play in, but he's a really good young defensive midfielder.
Yeah,
He's
really
playing
like
well in Liga.
Really technically proficient.
Well, yeah, exactly. I think they are a reasonably technically proficient side. There were times when they were holding the ball and it was very difficult to get it off them. Hakim Ziyech, I think it would be a bit of a stretch to call him young anymore. I felt a bit sorry for him in that Morocco side. But Morocco, some really good pressing, again some good technical play, just unable to turn that into high quality shots because Ziyech...
Lacking a goal scorer, aren't they?
Well, somebody like Ziyech as well is having to start so deep in order to get through the first line of defenders that when he gets into the second line, there's nobody there to kind of give him that support.
I think they've been the unluckiest side at this World Cup because generally, their build-up play, fantastic, but...
If they've been drawn in that Group A with Uruguay, Russia, Saudi Arabia and Egypt, then you kind of think, oh, if they were in there instead of one of those teams, maybe they'd have had a decent chance of getting out.
Yeah, it's a good shout. Is there any
what about
Moroccan strikers coming through? Does the future bode well for them? Has anyone got their eye on any Moroccan talent? That is
a
niche question.
I don't know.
I think they're playing Khazri up front, aren't they? But this is always... I'm just getting my North African nations confused.
For Tunisia.
Yeah, Khazri's Tunisian, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. I think there probably is some Moroccan striking talent coming through France, to be honest, because that's where most North African talent ends up.
I think Khazri could cause Belgium some problems because they're defensively suspect, and although he hasn't played since April, he had a very good season at Rennes. 9 goals, I think 2 assists in just 24 starts.
They didn't actually impress me that much against... Who did they play in their opening game? England, Tunisia. They didn't impress me at all, really. Other than their potential defensive stability, I think they were good. They didn't create...
Because you were in a Tunisian pub.
Yeah,
and
but
you didn't want
they
to be
created
there.
nothing.
But they're not a good side, Tunisia. But that doesn't mean they don't have talent.
True,
I mean,
it's true.
Same with Uruguay, arguably.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know. I think Ruben Loftus-Cheek was quite exciting, and he's obviously already in the Premier League. It'd be interesting.
Definitely exciting to look at.
Yeah, well, that's true. But I think my issue with him is I don't know exactly where he fits. Like at youth level, I remember him playing as a DM.
Yeah.
He played in a more attacking role. Last season, he was playing in a really attacking role, but didn't have big creative output or big shot output. However, his dribbling is outrageous because he's so big and he's so fast, and he's obviously got good anticipation. His reading of the game, the kind of mental part is there. So I'd like for him to go to a club where he was required to press. It'll be interesting if he has to fulfil Dele Alli's role. Yeah. If Ali has to sit out.
He's almost definitely going to start this weekend.
So that'll be kind of interesting because he was averaging, I think, 3.5 dribbles completed in the Premier League last season. That's what you expect from a very good quality winger, and you're seeing it through the centre of the park from a guy who I think is 6'3".
He's got that sort of Pogba-esque kind of quality where it's
goes
almost impossible to get the ball off of him, and he does go past players without seemingly doing an awful lot. He's just kind of got that a little burst on him, but there's a lot of responsibility on his shoulders when he does come in the side, especially if Gareth Southgate tinkers with the formation slightly, because we haven't, and if he does play a bit deeper, because there's not an awful lot of creativity in that midfield. And I know Lingard and Ali are technically playing in as midfielders in that 3-5-1, but they are very much attacking midfielders, almost like another 3 with Sterling most of the time, aren't they? So I think the creative burden does kind of rest on Ruben Loftus-Cheek when he starts. But I also I feel against Tunisia, we need to get the best out of John Stones as well. I feel like he's very important in this England system. He's one of the few sort of defenders who can step out, break the lines, get past that first press. And I think in the second half, our build-up play was a little bit laboured.
I think the only changes he's going to make on Sunday, obviously we're shooting this on Thursday, so we don't have a clue about the team. I imagine the team will have just come out when you've watched this video, or you might have even seen the game. I personally think the only changes he makes is Ali comes out, Ruben goes in, and then Raheem
Rose.
Sterling dropped for Rashford.
Not Rose for Young?
I don't think so.
Because Young, I thought was
didn't
quite
think he was great
unimpressive,
either, but I think he'll try and keep a consistency at the back.
I think it will make.
I
think it will make England less predictable in their build-up play if they've got a guy who can go down the line. Like with Young, he always wants to come back in, and that's it's not the worst thing in the world. His delivery is very, very good.
I agree.
But I don't know. I think
Rashford will come in for Sterling.
I think that's crazy.
I think Rose will come in for Young. Yeah, I don't think Young was particularly great second half.
No, he wasn't great.
Trippier created 5 goal scoring opportunities over the night. I think Young's numbers paled in comparison. Apart from that sort of one ball from deep over to Lingard, who kind of missed it on the volley. When we were in the Sky studio when we did our watch along, Ryan Mason was saying he's one of the best dead ball specialists he's seen in the flesh.
Yeah.
So.
I'll set pieces awesome.
Yeah, he'll serve a few more free
It
kicks.
helps when you've got like an Easter Island statue to aim at,
Yeah.
like Harry Maguire arriving like a tank.
They actually wheel his head into the stadium separately to his body and screw it
I think the one advantage for England is, they don't have like an outstanding creator, but they've got a bunch of guys who can create a bit. Like Lingard can create, Sterling can create, Ali, even Kane. Like these guys, they all have some creative ability, even if no one of them is a Christian
Eriksen.
Eriksen.
I mean, more so perhaps from deep then in terms of starting the move with an incisive pass. It's almost like a 6.
Yeah.
Someone just passing between the lines. Because those guys, Lingard's great at finding space. Ali's kind of great at like dropping off, isn't it, as a second striker now. But I think Loftus-Cheek has got that in his locker.
Because that's what I was about to say about Jesse Lingard. He's kind of being used as a central midfielder. Lingard, by far, his best attribute is his positional play. He always finds pockets of room and off the ball work. There's a reason that about 4 chances dropped to him in about the space of 15 minutes in that first half. Before I think maybe after he'd missed his third, I think his head started to go down a little bit and he stopped making those runs. But if he gets one in this tournament, I fully back Lingard to score a load of goals.
He shouldn't feel that way because I thought he had a really good game, particularly in the first half. And it's the combination of him and Sterling because they're so good at finding space between the lines. You can't really cover both of them and put 2 guys on Kane. I mean, to me, it would be absolutely insane for Sterling to be dropped unless the aim was just to rest him for Belgium.
I think he's going to be rested
because I was seeing stuff afterwards about how difficult it is for him to create against a sitting defence, and I kind of wondered what team people thought he'd been playing for all season. Like, I mean, Man City have been facing packed defences all year, and he's been incredible at creating, at ripping defences apart, at box entries, at getting touches in the box.
I was also surprised that people like chastising as much as they did though, because if someone's game was going to suffer as a result of the way Tunisia set up, it was going to be Sterling's. I know you say like that,
especially with playing Lingard and Ali in there as well.
He's been classed as sort of Manchester City in terms of arriving late in the box, and that's something he's definitely added to his game this season, isn't it? But he had like a Leroy Sané, didn't he, creating chances for him down the left, and a Bernardo Silva or a whoever.
KD being behind him, playing balls.
I feel like when England broke quickly in that game, if the fullbacks weren't up the pitch, it was very sort of. It got a little bit stagnant in the centre, didn't it?
Yeah.
And my worry is that against a big side, if the 3-5-1, if the sort of if the wing backs, do drop, we will be quite one-dimensional through the middle. But
potentially,
see how it happens.
We'll see what happens on Sunday though, because we are doing a watch along as well for that game, aren't we? So you're in the studio, right?
I believe I am.
Who else is there? Dorman there, and
Ryan Mason again.
Ryan Mason is back. So make sure this afternoon, because it's going out in the morning, you tune into England versus Panama watch along right here on Football Day.
Before we move on then, just to mix it up, we've done enough World Cup content for now. We just spoke about the World Cup. So back to club level, we've done a scout report profiling Manchester City's next 5 superstars over on Euro Football Daily. There's a link to that in the description and the top comment below. And if you download the Manchester City Kids app, which is why we're doing it, you can also potentially meet some of the players.
Ooh.
So, I've put out the bait. It's up to you now to nibble. But what's the next section, Jose?
It is quick fire questions. Should we bounce straight into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Right, the first one was sent in by @MrMCMLG. Which club should Jack Wilshere go to after he confirmed he was leaving Arsenal?
He's got to start this.
You
He's
have
the
to.
Arsenal
Go on.
fan, surely. I have no idea.
Come on.
Palace.
Palace.
Yeah, who cares where he goes? He's not very good.
Oh, come on. Dave Jackson's the straw.
Stop being so bitter.
He needs to grow up about him. He's not an important player.
Right, but you can see why. He's been there for 17 years. He's come through the youth system. There's a certain nostalgia around him, but admittedly, leaving is the right decision. I'd like to see him go to an Italian club.
That'd be fun.
Juventus.
No way.
Surely
happening.
Surely
You know, if they let Storaro go, he can be the new Storaro, mate. Just someone who chips in 15 games a season.
I would like to see him go to Manchester City under Pep Guardiola. I'd love to see what he would do under Pep Guardiola, but realistically, he's going to end up at West Ham.
He could just be the new Yaya, yeah, like the fourth choice central midfielder.
Yeah, he's almost definitely going to end up at West Ham.
I don't know in Hargreaves. Come on, score one.
Mate, Owen did a job. Next one, sent by Kyle WXB. He says, most surprising team so far at the World Cup.
God, that's a good
my
question.
word.
Almost like we should have prepared for these. Most surprising team. I mean, Russia are definitely one. They're playing a much better brand of football than I anticipated. I've been more disappointed with teams than I have been pleasantly surprised.
Disappointed by?
I mean, Colombia were poor, but obviously Carlos Sanchez got sent off after 3 minutes.
For me, by far the most surprising team so far, Germany. So disorganised, so poor at the back.
Or Mexico.
They had it at the last World Cup.
Conversely, just
Not this bad.
Like
they weren't being exposed by Mexico.
but they had a sloppy start, and then like they fixed things once. I think Schweinsteiger came back from injury, and Lahm was able to go back into defence. Like, so I think, I don't know. You still sort of back the Germans to figure it out. I don't know who has been. A lot. It's very predictable. Most of the people who are disappointing though.
Yeah.
And Brazil were poor.
And they're big have grinded out wins, haven't they? Like France, I expected them to be a bang average. Brazil, I think maybe some of the smaller nations like Iran, Morocco, Peru.
Yeah, not too bad. Right, the next one.
Tidy, compact.
Mark Leach, 0-0. Do you think African teams will go far, and if so, who will go the furthest?
In this tournament?
Senegal.
Senegal
Just
in general. Clearly. Senegal have a plan. Senegal have a plan, which is basically to like run with the throttle open, right? So they're relying on the fact they've got Koulibaly and they've got Gay mopping everything up, and then they just have incredibly fast, intelligent, like interweaving strikers, right? So they've got Ismail Assar, they've got Niang, they've even got Diouf, they've got Mane, obviously they've got Keita Balde, didn't even play, didn't start in the first game. They've got all these options, and all those guys are fast, creative goal scorers, and I think that's just a recipe for going a decent way. Like, if you have a plan, you're already ahead of half the teams at the World Cup, I think. And when that plan relies on somebody like Gay, just like breaking up play in midfield and knocking it forward to these really, really talented forwards, then you're always going to have a chance against pretty much anyone.
Definitely go Senegal.
Props to the Senegal fans as well, cleaning up after themselves.
Yeah, legends. Next one, We Are Venom. Which signings do you recommend Arsenal make before the window closes? You may as well take this one.
It looks like they'll add a young centre-back. I think they'll probably add a young wide player as well. Basically now my aim would be, you've done the major work, getting in Torreira, getting in some backup options and a keeper. I think that you probably now need to think about how you make that squad younger and less injury prone, and that involves selling old players and buying young ones.
Oh, good answer there. I don't think I've got much more to add.
What about Arsenal?
Yeah.
No, I was already preparing for the next question.
Sorry, mate. Ben Lamont's question. He says, do you think players in big teams will turn it around and perform for their country? Very generic question there, Ben.
I think
the big players have done pretty well so far.
For the most part, a lot of nations are heavily reliant on their big players to make up for a sort of lack of coherent system, aren't they? Argentina just seem to be extremely reliant on like Messi, Aguero, while defensively just accepting that they're average. Cristiano Ronaldo's obviously been exceptional. Isco, I think, has been brilliant for Spain.
Really good,
in terms of, we know he's a brilliant player, but he's kind of been the fulcrum of the side so far. I think he had 140 touches against Morocco. Was it Morocco or Iran? Iran. The second most at the World Cup so far after Mascherano against Iceland.
Busquets is playing really well as well. Busquets looks sort of found some form at the right time.
Is there any...
Not that many other players. I mean, Neymar obviously didn't have his best game up front. When I say up front, I mean up front in the tournament, like in the opening game. Obviously, he was kicked up and down the park though, so Coutinho stepped up and played pretty well. I think.
Maybe this question's come about as a result of sort of Germany's big stars being so poor against Mexico. Tony Cruz, was taking pot shots from distance.
I don't think Tony Cruz works in the midfield too with Khedira though.
No, neither do I. I'm not sure he works in the midfield too, full stop. I think he needs protection. But actually, I thought Hummels did like there were a load of times in that game where Mexico had like a 2-on-1, a 3-on-1, and Hummels prevented them scoring more goals pretty much single-handedly. I thought he had as good a game as he could in that absolute catastrophe of a midfield and defence.
Should we do the final quick-fire question then?
Yeah.
This one is from Alex Taylor, and they say, are Russia really this good, or is something else going on behind the scenes?
We've already spoken about
We've already spoken about it, but Russia have done better than we expected. But the teams they're playing have been horrendous. Let's have it right. Egypt were awful.
Who have they got left in the
not
group?
turned up.
Uruguay.
Oh. They'll probably beat them because Uruguay have been utter turd as well.
Sort it out, Oscar Tabarez.
Yeah, so there we go. Quick fire questions. If you want to get your question answered in quick fire questions next week, leave it in the comments below with #SundayVibes. Our final section is Anything But Football, where we answer a personal question from the week. This one was sent in by James Smith. He says, if you had to select an actor to play you in a film about your life, who would it be and why? Have you thought of one yet, Patrick?
No.
I'll start then. I'll start with Damian Lewis, a fellow ginger.
That's a great shout.
Incredibly good looking.
It's a really good shout.
One hell of an actor. Plays me down to a T.
Yeah?
Yeah. He would be superb. Perfect
So
fit.
loves his older women, does Damien?
Does he? Does he?
He does. Good man.
Yeah,
Me
so
too.
who are you going to go
Anyway,
for? Who are you going to go for then?
who's that guy who I think shares in the film as well? And it's about that kid. Is he called The Mask? That ginger kid with like the deformed head. He's got a huge head.
I don't know
It's
what
called
you're talking
Mask.
about.
Is it
it's called
I thought of a
Mask,
good one
yeah.
for you. Is it, what's his name? Is it
What's
Taron Egerton?
Oh, that's
The
a
guy
nice
who
one.
plays in Kingsman.
That is a decent shout.
You should take that
I get a bit out of the comments. I mean,
Yeah.
Him or Sue Perkins. One of
Yeah,
them.
super. I'll tell you that.
She'd give an incredible performance.
Yeah, she would. Just over the top.
Mate,
irritating.
come on, mate. You might as well pick like the best possible person you can. Just pick anyone. Pick Idris Elba. It'd be amazing as you. He's a chameleon. Like honestly, this is wishful.
no, he's
thinking.
Anthony Hopkins.
He's too suave.
He's got a
Scarlett
5 head.
Johansson straight in.
Come on then, who are you going for, Jack Black?
Everyone hates you. It's funny and it's painful because it's true. God, I don't know. I mean, I might as well just go for somebody who's like, you know, make me feel good. So just go for like Mark Ruffalo or something, you know, just like sort of,
Mark Ruffalo.
just like
Yeah,
just
I mean,
a nice
he's
bloke.
shades,
Dead actor,
He's
though.
shades of Mark Ruffalo.
He's a great actor, Mark
Dead
Ruffalo.
You don't like Foxcatcher, do you?
No,
That's why.
so awful.
That's why I was saying that. I thought it was
Foxcatcher's
brilliant.
awful,
Unbelievable.
I thought it was
man.
really good.
What are you
Great.
talking about?
Well, it's good to get your opinion.
Yeah, I
Your
know.
favourite film's Forrest Gump, you terrible human. It's
Wow.
it's dreadful.
It's not, it's fantastic. But anyway, should we wrap up personal questions before it
Please.
gets out of hand?
God.
Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
actually
we've
angry
tried
now.
to do this about 8 times without, like, you know.
Saying something offensive about
So,
an actor. So
we almost got there.
there we go. Who's your actor of choice? Let us know in the comments below. So that's the end of Sunday Vibes this week. As Chris said earlier, make sure you hit the link in the description below to download the Manchester City Kids app. Lads, what else is happening on Football Daily's network this weekend?
Well, of course, Joseph, Stat Wars would have come out yesterday,
Yeah.
along with Kieran's comment show, which has moved from 90+1 to Euro Football Daily. We bought him, best move of the transfer window so far. Bargain buy.
Bargain
Kieran Carlin. I reckon that's the
free.
best Saturday on YouTube. Easy.
Yeah. Kieran on a
And
free.
any given channel, Stat Wars and Kieran's comment show. Nothing but pure entertainment. I mean,
the
everyone
watch-along.
will be watching the World Cup anyway, so it doesn't matter. But Pat, you're on the watch-along.
Yeah, England versus Panama, I
Panama.
believe. So I think that will be. I just think England are going to win.
Yeah.
Are you going to bring the noise, bring the
I'm
energy
going
to the
to be
studio?
so positive about England. You're not going to recognise me.
Oh my good God.
No, that's not true at all. I will be mildly negative.
So there we are. Looking forward to that. Bye.
See ya.